You know, yesterday we talked about the creepy bond between Robyn and Kody. Well, apparently Kody and Robyn were spotted out in public, and I wasn't even going to make a video about anything today related to sister wives, and then I saw this in a Facebook group, and I thought this is too good not to share, because apparently Kody and Robyn were spotted out in public and some fan stopped them to take a picture. And in the middle of taking a picture, the photo says, "My sister got to meet Robyn and Kody. She said that Robyn smelled like onions. She must have been cooking. She was not super nice. She was not super nice. Kody would not shut up and was a super kind guy." Highlight of my evening. Kody is in this group. Is Kody in this group? Mary. I was like, okay. First of all, Kody wouldn't shut up, but it was a super kind person. According to who? And in public maybe. But the fact that she said that Robyn smelled like onions and she was not nice, that sums up exactly how you should describe Robyn. And I like how she quickly assumed that Robyn must have been cooking. But they were at a mall. So they ran into Kody and Robyn at Robyn's favorite place, the mall, 'cause Robyn hasn't grown out of high school and she still loves to go to the mall. And she smelled like onions at the mall. Where was she cooking? Maybe she just smells like onions because she wears onion perfume to keep Kody away from her. Why would you go out into public and smell like onions? And I have no doubt that Kody is friendly in public, but I also have no doubt that he's nice when he first meets people because he can be like the center of attention. But I wouldn't say that he is a super kind guy. You know, Sister Wives fans are so strange to me. Especially the ones that actually think that Kody is a decent human being and the ones that want to take pictures with them because obviously they're famous people. I wonder how often Kody and Robyn get stopped when they're out in public. And I wonder where they were. Maybe they were like in Flagstaff. Maybe they were in Scottsdale. But they were at a mall and Robyn smelled like onions. Why? Auto onion. So, now that we know that Robyn has bad hygiene, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Robyn has bad hygiene. Because why else would you smell like onions in public? Unless you just got back from a place where you ate onions, but why would your clothes smell like onions? Were you cutting onions at the store? And if you were at the mall, were you really getting onions? I have so many questions about her and onions. Then I saw something else. Janelle Brown recently moved into her house, okay? And the house was finished, I think, a couple weeks ago. And she's been on this whole journey, a journey of finding herself again in her 50s. And some level of awakening is happening in her where she's starting to understand and deprogram herself from the cult and having this realization that she can make her own decisions and she can, do things for herself.
But what I first of all, I'm glad that she's learning these things. But second of all, she's selling coaching to people. And I just think there has to be something in their faith that makes them not have the sight to see that they are not the ones to be giving advice. You know what I mean?
There has to be something of their programming that makes them believe they're superior than people, because I can't imagine. This is just my opinion, and I have empathy for Janelle, but I can't imagine going through what they went through in their lives where we watched all of these women get completely taken advantage of, swindled, and harmed by Kody, then think that they would be the proper people to give other women advice on how to live their lives. It has to be something within their programming that tells them that they should be continuing to give help to others and then charging people for this advice. But in one of her posts that she recently put out 4 days ago, it was about making choices. And she went on this whole slide thing where she spoke about how it's hard to make decisions when you've never had to make decisions and when you've always had to do everything by a group and you've always had to check in with other people to see if it's okay. And at 55 years old, she wrote, "But somewhere along the way, you learned something incredible. You don't need permission anymore." And she wrote, "Designing this place has been different. Every choice here has been mine. The land, the house, the details that will finally shape what Tata Farm becomes. So she's understanding at age 55, she doesn't need permission. You know, it's odd because I feel like I watched her on the show not need permission to do a lot of things. Like, she bought that trailer without Kody's permission, and she left Flagstaff without Kody's permission. There were times, yes, where they did more things on committee, but in the last several years, she was definitely not doing things with his approval outside of not being able to get a house of her own. I just wonder how real this is. I understand she's dissecting, right? But I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say that, like, she's just finding out now that she doesn't have to need permission. Okay. And then there's this other post that she made about, being in her 50s, and this is about how she's a strong and independent woman. Okay. Being strong doesn't mean you don't need help. It just means you choose it knowingly. Lately, a lot of people have been watching what I'm doing with this house, designing it, making the decisions, building something that is totally mine. I think what people see from the outside is freedom. But what they don't see is how intentional you have to become about the support you allow in your life when you hit the stage. This is a confusing line because she goes from first person to speaking about herself in the third person. So I think what people see from the outside is independence, but what they don't see is how intentional you have to become about the support you accept in your life when you reach this stage. And then she wrote, when you've been through divorce, when you faced loss, when your kids grow up and leave, when the life you thought you were building changes shape, you learn pretty quickly that strength isn't about doing everything alone. It's about learning to trust your own choices and choosing the right people to stand behind you while you make them. I talk to so many women who feel lost. They're 50 and 60, looking at retirement or staring at a life that doesn't look the way they thought it would, and they know something has to shift. They're ready for a different chapter. That's the work I care about most. Helping women realize understand they're not behind. They're just standing at the moment where they finally get to choose. Okay, I get worried about this program she's selling because life coaching is not regulated. And she comes from a background where she's still in a cult program and she still has shown that she's someone that is vulnerable to manipulation, but she's also shown that she is someone that has the capacity to be a little bit arrogant and oversell herself as being independent and financially secure and really smart. And I just worry about the kind of advice she gives to people, because it kind of feels like a lot of the advice that she's giving is just advice on her actual experience. She's understanding what she's gone through, and then she's giving advice based on what she's gone through. And if you need help in life and you need someone to talk to, I don't know, get a therapist, don't page no on social media. I mean, I have to respect her needing to make money. I just wish they would find a way to make money that wasn't exploiting people into thinking that these women have the answers. 'Cause I think if you've learned anything about this show is that for so many years, these people lied. And I would have a hard time taking advice from someone that I know that lied openly for so many years to profit. On the other hand, I'm happy that she is taking the steps to make her own decisions and figure out later in life that she doesn't need permission and that it's okay to start over and it's okay to go through divorce, and she's obviously been through a lot with her loss. I just wish she would instead of trying to fix other people, she just worked on herself. I had a doctor once because I was like this before I went into therapy, and my therapist would say, sometimes when you are broken, you will go out of your way to try to help someone else because sitting in your own pain is so hard. So, if you can fix what's happening to someone else, you don't actually have to deal with the pain that's inside you and the trauma you're going through, and you don't have to work through you. So, you can redirect your energy into helping someone else. But then, what you end up doing is draining yourself of your energy and your time, and so you're spending all this time working on other people. And then the root reasons that have caused you the pain that you've gone through in the years. Not to say that it's your fault, but it's when you get into patterns, especially for me, my thing was I would get into patterns where I made bad decisions when it came to like friends or it just came to like boyfriends. And I had this like pattern of how I met people, how I fell in love with them, red flags that I would miss, want to fixing them, not taking care of myself, getting lost in the relationship, and having to go through therapy to realize like in order for me to break that, I actually have to work on myself and like be single for a while and learn about what are the underlying things that I'm running from that are leading me into these patterns of behavior, what was my upbringing, that kind of stuff. And I don't think I could have walked through that. Now I sound like a Duggar if I had a life coach, right? I needed a licensed psychologist to help me learn coping skills and learn about domestic violence and understand trauma and trauma recovery, listening to your gut and your in, and like understanding the difference between like when you're one thing I had to learn myself, always second, guess myself. And I would say, okay, I feel like that person is a red flag, but I inherently wanted to see the good in everybody. So I would trust them and be naive thinking that, well, they're being nice to me, so they must be nice. But then along the way, they would show behaviors where I would be like, I don't know about that. But then I would find a way to explain it away. So I would not listen to my gut. And so I went through therapy for like 2 years where I had to work on like listening to the gut. If your body tells you or your mind says something here is wrong, it doesn't add up, it doesn't feel good, that's usually you telling yourself that there's something that's wrong and not ignoring the red flags. And share this not to get personal here, but just to say, having gone through failed relationships, now being in a marriage where we've been together for 17 years and married for 16 in August, so 15 and a half years right now, I would have never been in a space to go into my relationship with my husband if I would have gotten out of my last relationship with my abusive ex-boyfriend and then just jumped into a relationship with him. Also, I was never in a place all those years later, all those years before, to ever give anyone advice on relationships. And quite frankly, I hate giving anyone help on anything. I would never tell anyone how to live. But in this case, when it comes to Janelle, just because I've gone through something similar, not that we've had the same walk in life, I was not part of the OB, but I have left an abusive ex. And I will just say, the best thing sometimes to do is to be like, I'm going to just fix myself first. I'm going to put in me. Now, it's not always successful, and there's a million things she could do without having to sell advice to other people. Does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't. I just had to share this tonight. I wasn't going to even make a video on this. I wasn't going to make a video until I saw that picture of Robyn and she smells like onion. And then my thoughts got spinning about, does Robyn have bad hygiene? Does she wear onion cologne to repel Kody? Is Robyn actually a vampire? Is she wearing garlic? 'Cause onion and garlic can kind of smell alike. Is she wearing like garlic onions to repel the monster that is Kody? Is Kody a vampire? You guys, Kody might be a vampire. And Janelle doesn't need permission anymore. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't signed. And click the bell so you never miss a movie. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.